Love it. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the conversation on this Wednesday, July 22nd. Two amazing faces here today. Kylie and Dennis. Hey, gang.
Good morning. This is my first
Good
time.
morning.
Dennis, I've heard you've done the show.
I'm a veteran of the conversation.
I love it. You're going to be a regular.
I come up here every now and then and we talk sports, right?
Oh, yeah. You're big into sports.
In another life.
World Cup sport ball.
Sport ball.
Football. I will say the
fun.
couches are nice.
I
The
know,
pillows
it's a
are
different
very
vibe, right?
cozy.
Yeah.
I like this. I'm like, this actually is nice.
It is definitely different from a traditional newscast. We're a little bit more laid back. We do the more
I have my
casual
flip-flops
vibe.
on.
We
It's
need
all
couches
good.
like this at the anchor desk.
That'd be great.
And in the studio, I think it'd be a much more casual vibe, you know?
I mean, maybe that's the future. 5
Right?
years from now, who knows?
I
A
know.
year from now,
I
we could be
know.
like delivering the news on a couch all day.
It's so true. It's changing
You know,
rapidly.
I guess you're like, it's like, hey, we got some, breaking news.
Yeah.
Just,
What's up, guys?
Hey.
I know. It's fun. So as we welcome everyone in, we do the comments. So we'll see them pop on the screen. So we always ask people to let us know where they're watching from and chime in. Guys, it is a huge day in our state. We had the primary election yesterday. A lot of races called. We're keeping an eye on them throughout the morning. It was a lot of moving parts this morning throughout Good Morning Arizona. And that's why Dennis is here, because you really are the insider when it comes to all this.
Yeah. Primary day. I like to refer to this, and I can make a strong argument. It's the second most important election day on the calendar. Because obviously this does set the matchups last night, and one of the things you're always kind of looking for on a night like this, and I think what viewers are kind of looking for is, well, what are the kind of main storylines? And a lot of it, the storylines have to deal with the Republican Party coming out last night, because Democrats, they currently occupy the top 3 offices in the state. They're running unopposed. So, what's going on with Republicans in the key races. And I think one of the storylines here is not shocking, but when you look at Donald Trump's hold on the Republican Party and the voters here in Arizona, he still has very much a strong relationship with those voters, and his word goes a long way. He endorsed Andy Biggs. Andy Biggs won that primary. He endorsed, who else here? I'm drawing a blank here.
Jay Feely.
Jay Feely.
CD1.
That's a congressional down in Congressional District 1. He endorsed him, and he won. So I think these are important things here when you start looking at moving forward. We know that the Trump endorsement is the golden ticket for Republicans in the primary, but it has not paid off in the general election as of yet. We saw that just a couple of years ago, and I think the number one example of that, obviously, is Kari Lake. She was endorsed by Trump for both the governor and then a couple of years later for Senate, and just wasn't able to pull that off. So, candidate quality matters, and Arizona voters will do their due diligence, and they will do their homework on this, and we'll see if they can't break that trend and get a Trump-endorsed candidate to break through in one of these offices. Because another big story, I think, in the fall here is Republicans desperately want to get back in power. I mean, since Janet Napolitano, left to go work for the Obama administration, I believe in early 2009, Republicans held most of the top offices here in Arizona. They held the governor's office, they held the Secretary of State's office, and they've held, the Attorney General's office. Well, for the past 4 years, Republicans have been out of power, and they're trying to get back into power. And so, are these candidates they picked last night, are they going to be able to get them there? Once again, you're going with a Trump loyalist, just like Kari Lake did 4 years ago, to become, to get that governor's job. You're moving there. You start looking at the Secretary of State's race. You've got the current state lawmaker, Alexander Culloden. He is somebody who has aligned himself very much and is very much ensconced and is deeply tied to, election deniers and stuff like that. If you go back and you Google the Kraken election lawsuit filed after the 2020 election, he was one of the lawyers that filed that. So what are voters going to think about that moving forward? And so it's going to be fascinating to see this play out here in November. And I feel like I've been talking forever.
Well, I mean, we'll just we'll just hang out. Where's a little
That's the
iced
beautiful
tea?
thing about this is, right, we don't have the time constraints of a traditional
Yes, we can
newscast,
just
which
talk.
is great to hear Dennis kind of weigh in on what the insight is and what the reaction is.
So let's talk about the governor's race. In
let's
particular,
talk
right?
about it.
Let's talk
You're not off the
more.
hook yet.
Well,
No,
let's
no, no.
do that.
I want to talk about a couple of races, because the governor's race, obviously, arguably is the most important, right? You're leading,
It's-
you're leading
it-
the state.
it's-
And so you have the incumbent, Katie Hobbs, run unopposed. And what, at 8:01, I mean, they knew that Andy Biggs was getting this nomination. They had that attack ad. How do you think a Biggs-Hobbs matchup fares in November, especially with people, those independents who, you know, don't really align to either party?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, 8 o'clock, the results come out last night. 8:01, Andy Biggs is declared the winner, and at 8:01 and 30 seconds, Hobbs is out with her attack ad. Right? They knew who they were going to be fighting, and I think there's going to be some very contrasting styles here. Biggs is already trying to position himself as more moderate than his real record would suggest. He has already said he's worked across party lines and across the aisle to get things done. Is he going to have the money to be able to make that message? And because we know that Governor Hobbs is going to have the money to not let him get away with that. They're going to paint him as an extremist, as somebody who is 100% loyal to Trump, who himself has his own ties to election denialism. They're already hitting him on some of his tax proposals. Most recently, like that ad you're talking about last night, is his proposal to do away with an income tax and replace it with a sales tax, which may sound good, but it is definitely more regressive because the less money you make, a larger percentage of your income is spent on that sales tax. And they're going to make the argument that something like that would cost people and families more money at the grocery store if you're paying higher sales tax there. And remember, affordability is a big issue in this election this year for everybody. So that's how I kind of see this battle playing out through November. And a big question for Andy Biggs is he going to have the resources? Because the politics of this, when you get out of like what the policy fights will be, which will be over affordability and things like that, is the money there. Republicans are finding themselves having to defend and play in a lot more seats this year across the map than they expected. I mean, I think the governor's race in Iowa is up for grabs now. They're going to have to spend a lot of money in the governor's race in Ohio, for example, now. So I think there's a lot of that going on. He is competing for that money, and I think people who have the purse strings in the Republican Party are asking themselves today, is this a good investment? Do we want to put that money in Arizona, which could be a coin flip at best?
So one of the things I want to ask you about, Dennis, because obviously it's a primary, so the turnout is lower than what you see for the general election, but it seemed it was especially low yesterday. Do you have any thoughts, insight on that? And, it isn't surprising per se, but what was your takeaway from
I think, the calendar had moved up. It was 2 weeks earlier, I believe, with the primary this year. It's in the middle of July, and most of us who are fortunate enough to live that lifestyle, we leave. We go to San Diego. we go to the beach in California, or we go down to Rocky Point or something like that. People aren't really paying attention in the middle of July in Arizona. So I think you're really competing with that a lot, and you kind of moved up and moved with the schedule and the calendar a little bit. So maybe people just were thinking they still had some time here because unlike us, that I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I've been paid to follow all this. Most Arizonans are hardworking people, and they're not thinking about politics and election all the time. They're thinking about what they have to do with their families to get by and paying rent and doing all that other kinds of stuff. So I think maybe that might have something to do with it. And I also think too, and if you talk to some people out there, if you ask them why there's such a low voter turnout in the primary, is they'll tell you that the second largest voting bloc really doesn't vote in this primary at all, because we're talking about the independent party, not the capital I independent. These are independent voters who have decided they don't want to be affiliated, that Democrats and Republicans aren't cool enough for them, so they're not going to be affiliated with them. And they have to take an extra step, and they can vote in the primary if they request a ballot. But most people aren't going to take that extra step. So you have about 1.4 million voters in Arizona.
A third of the voting block,
a third of the
even
voters,
a little bit
like
more,
1.4. Yeah, 1.4 million voters who have to take that extra step and basically are not participating in these, primary elections. They're going to hold off and they're going to wait until they see with their fall ballots. So
and see how those ads are, see how the campaign.
Yeah, but it kind of sucks for them too because can I say sucks?
Yeah, you can say it.
It kind of sucks for them because it's
my first time, so I don't know.
Because you always hear like, people are not happy with the choices they made, and they're made for these voters a lot of times in these primaries. And I feel like, do you ever watch Ron Burgundy and Anchorman?
Of course.
And he's like, you will eat the cat poop. And like I feel like with some of these voters, they're being forced to eat that, right? Because they have to take that extra step and they're not participating in high numbers. But like then when they do see them, they don't like their choices. Well, that's the way the system's set up right now.
I will say I took my 2-year-old. It was 6:45 at night. And she was in her PJs, and I'm like, I'm going to go vote. And my husband's like, the polls close at 7. I'm like, you just got to be in line. And I guarantee you I'm going to be back in a few minutes because there's not going to be a line. He's like, are you sure? And so we went. Shout out to the poll workers over at the Church of the Beatitudes because they were amazing. My daughter got so many stickers. She didn't want to leave. So then it was like, okay, you can't have a meltdown.
I really think, too, it's something you got to really, just a big shout out to, the poll workers and people who volunteer. And all the candidates who run for these offices. Why they want to put up with this, put themselves through this crucible and submit themselves to this kind of stuff. I mean, politicians aren't built like normal people, but they do have to put themselves through a lot. So, I mean, regardless of party or whatever, I mean, you do deserve some respect by subjecting yourself and being willing to serve the public in this respect. So.
And the poll workers were still so friendly and smiley, even after being there for almost 13 hours. So shout out to them. Can we talk about an interesting story?
Yeah, let's do it.
CD won that race, which is so widely watched because that could potentially, impact the balance of power in Washington, D.C. You have Jay Feely, who used to play for the Cardinals, right? It used to be on TV against Amish Shah, who is an emergency doctor and obviously has a history at the state legislature. But the crazy thing is that they both were a part of the Jets many years ago. Feely was a
we
player.
are here to talk about sports.
Finally, I get to talk about.
Amish Shah was the team doctor.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it was like we just came out of the World Cup and we had that really kind of like full circle moment with Lionel Messi and who's the star player for Spain, Lamine Yamal or whatever.
The AI picture that I was like,
yeah,
is this
right.
real? How is this real?
And like this is our own little version of that. And it was just stunning. And Feely was talking about that last night in his victory party. And I kind of feel like it's kind of funny because like we finally get to talk about sports, and I'm stuck talking about the Jets, man.
Of course, it's the Jets.
Of all teams.
Of all the teams, the New York Jets.
You know what?
You know how they define crazy in New York, right?
Oh,
Nets,
the
Jets,
definition
and
of
Mets.
insanity.
Yeah.
But are Jets as crazy as Eagles fans?
Oh,
I don't think
boy.
so.
Kylie, I gotta give it to you. Kylie knows her sports. Like, shout out to your hubby because I know you're around it all the time. But Kylie comes in with the sports knowledge. I'm like, okay, Kylie knows ball.
I do dabble in a few things. I like, politics and sports and parenting. That's like my expertise at this hour.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and also just being in the news business, you're going to pick up some of the stuff through osmosis, right?
That's true.
Absolutely. Okay, Dennis, any other key, before we let you go, because we know you're busy today and you've got to be in a bunch of different newscasts, anything else that people just need to be looking out for throughout the rest of the day and as we look ahead to November?
Well, I think we're now in the general election. Politics moves on. Like the primary is over with. We're with the attack ads. I'd be looking to see where the governor should be out with with another ad today. Andy Biggs should be out with an ad today. I would be looking at some of that.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't think there's any major races to be following pretty closely. It looks like Kimberly Yee has that superintendent of public instruction race pretty well in hand at this point. That was always kind of a coin flip, but Tom Horn, longtime public servant here, for good or bad, he is, I would imagine his political career may be over if he loses this race. And We know David Schweikert, who has a political resume that dates all the way back to the state legislature in the 1990s when he was part of the under 30 caucus. His career looks to be in question now after losing this primary by 70 points almost in that primary for the governor's race. And again, one of the big surprises I had last night was that not that Schweikert lost, but that David Schweikert lost by that much.
Yeah. All right. azfamily.com/vote is your election headquarters. Dennis is a busy guy today. He's going to be in all of our newscasts, so be sure to tune in. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Dennis. This was fun. Thanks
Sport
for
ball
chatting.
next time.
Sport ball next time.
Next time, we want to talk the Cardinals, or at least the Suns.
Okay. You have more knowledge on the Suns than Cardinals?
No, but I've got strong opinions.
Oh, he's got strong opinions. There we go.
Love it. We'll be right back after this. Okay, we're done with the political stuff for now. So we appreciate everyone's patience because, I know a lot of people, they feel strongly about the politics. So if you're not a politics person, we got that covered, and we're moving on to some of the other headlines for the day, Kylee.
It has certainly been an eventful start to the week
Yes.
with the monsoon. And it seemed like the monsoon, Mother Nature is so unpredictable, right? The first part, it was like, okay, is this what's happening?
Right.
And then it's been certainly active the last couple of weeks. And you feel for the folks in Globe in Miami because they dealt with all of that destructive and deadly flooding that was less than a year ago.
Yeah.
And they saw some flooding this week. And we're going to show you some video, like an ATV flipped over.
Crazy.
And unfortunately,
Look
it's
at this
like
water.
deja vu. I know.
It's
for
really
them.
awful. Yeah, because they're still recovering, getting back on their feet from what happened last season. And we've been covering the back and forth with FEMA about getting that aid, getting that assistance, which these people need. I know the Red Cross is on the ground, like offering just essentials, hygiene, things that people can use as they get back on their feet, because you open your door and you look out your road and you see this. It's like, how do you even begin to operate everyday life?
No. And I remember being out there covering it. This was last year. And the people there were so nice. And you just, like, some of them were so heartbroken because this is like their livelihood. I mean, some of the restaurant workers, we had those closures and the homes were flooded, and obviously several people lost their lives. So we're hoping that, the water can recede and there's not an extreme amount of additional damage off the millions and millions of dollars in damage from last year, which obviously still they're in limbo right now after not getting that declaration.
Luckily, as of today, right now, no major injuries or deaths, thank goodness, have been reported. So obviously it's something that we keep an eye on because we know the monsoon is a long season here in Arizona. We're going to continue to cover it. It's such a tricky thing, right? Because I feel like so many of us pray for rain in the summer because it is so hot and so dry here. But then you have these extreme instances and it makes you kind of question, like, the weather is so fickle and you just really never know what could happen.
No, you're like, I want the rain, but I don't want it to be destructive, right? I want it to be like calm and just like a light little drizzle.
Or can't we have San Diego weather where it's 75 and sunny?
I mean, then imagine how much homes would be here if our weather was 75 and sunny. I'm fine with like 100. Like, that's okay.
Yeah, Whitney was saying that today too. She's like 104 even, not bad. Once we start to get 105, 106, close to 110, it's like, what gives people? Come on.
We don't want that.
No.
And apparently we're getting comments.
Yes.
So we read the comments, right?
Read the comments, yes.
It's a learning process. Mother Nature needs a Snickers bar. Ooh, a Snickers bar sounds good.
That would be great.
I'm always hungry these days.
Yeah. Marcy Lynn, send us Snickers bars.
Thank you, please. We'll send you the address. Just Amazon some from us.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in addition to this flooding that we're showing you in the video, we also have got to talk about the Out of Africa Wildlife Park. This is in Camp Verde, and they had to close at least through tomorrow because of the weather. They were already closed because of the flooding that we had from Monday, but that other flood came in yesterday, causing even more damage. No update on whether the animals were affected, but have you ever been here? Because
no, but I'm dying to go.
Yeah.
This is like right at I'm sure we'll make a trip in the next. Yeah. This is like, kids love animals.
Right.
So I was thinking about that. I'm like, ooh, we've got to add that to the list. But yeah, you feel for all these places. I mean, remember when the zoo was shut down, the Phoenix Zoo?
Yeah, and they had to like move some animals from their pens.
So you think about the animals and the workers there. So hopefully they'll be able to reopen soon. They're closed through tomorrow, so hopefully Friday they'll be able to reopen. So we're thinking about anybody who works there and the folks up at Camp Verde.
Yeah, and we do have First Alert Weather Days, quite a slew of them for the extreme heat. So kind of thinking proactively, you hope that the sun and the heat kind of helps dry things out. But again, to our earlier point, it is so fickle that you just never know when because I know we have rain chances coming up towards the end of the 7-day as well. You wear a lot of hats around here. You do weather sometimes. Do you like covering the weather and doing the forecast?
I do, because growing up, I liked numbers. I was a math person. And so for some reason, like Ian always jokes, because I'm like into the data, like I like to quiz him. But aside from that, no, I like to like research and be like, okay, so what are the trends? Or like, oh, we've seen X amount of 110 days. Like for some reason, like numbers and stuff, I'm like one of those people who actually like numbers. And so I like to tell that kind of story, like behind the data, but then it's also Mother Nature's so fascinating too, and just like learning about the monsoon, and obviously we have such great meteorologists here, so I'm just kind of like, I'm like a pinch hitter, you know?
Like it. You
I'm
do
like,
such a
I'm
great
always
job.
like the pinch hitter, like, oh, let's call Kylee up.
No, you do such a great job.
But I will say this weekend's going to be pretty brutal, because I think anywhere from like 113, 114, but then it's still going to be humid, and so the feels like temperature could be close to like 120-ish when you factor in the humidity. So 120 or 118, it feels like it's just gross.
A good weekend to stay inside. I think I'm going to go see the Odyssey.
Or if you have a trip.
Yeah, I just got back from it. I would need to stop with the trips. I'm hemorrhaging money at the moment, Kylee.
Well, I, was off for 3 months, and so now I have to rebuild my PTO time. So I'm like, I'm dreaming of going on a trip.
I know.
But yeah, this is a good weekend to be like, hey, let's see if we can find a good deal in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Because get out of town. I think Flagstaff's going to be like in the 80s, but I mean the mornings and nights are so nice there. So it's like a good to like price line it, try to find a good Airbnb or something. Oh, Randy feels the same way. I love the monsoons, but the humidity can go.
Even my hair is like frizzier than usual, and I'm like, it's the humidity.
But you're used to it from the East Coast. Did you kind of acclimate to the dry heat?
It's definitely been a change. Summers are really hard for me. I have like reverse seasonal depression here because
I think a lot of us do.
Yeah, it's really like in the winter on the East Coast when it's cold and snowy, everyone bundles up and stays inside. Here in Arizona in the summer when it's 115, we stay inside, but for a different reason. So
yeah,
it's an adjustment for sure.
For sure. So we're going to mention Tropical Storm Bertha, and you obviously have covered a lot of tropical storms and hurricanes before. So it's closing in on the south, people from the Florida Panhandle to kind of the coastal Louisiana area. You're maybe if you have friends and family there, they're going to be impacted. And I guess it's going to continue to, it's kind of tracking west, and it'll eventually make landfall likely in Louisiana later today or early on Thursday. What was your experience like covering? I mean, because you were there for a few years, right?
Yeah,
what was the biggest hurricane you saw?
So I got there during Hurricane Irma in 2017, which is a big one. But the big one in Southwest Florida was Hurricane Ian. Yes. That hit when I was already in Virginia, but I had just recently relocated to Virginia. So, you know, when you spend time in a community, it becomes your own. I had friends that I had made in Southwest Florida who literally lost everything, didn't even have clean drinking water. Oh. And here I am, like, watching all this coverage from Central Virginia, and I was like, I have got to do something because these are like my people and they're hurting right now. And I marched into my boss's office in Richmond, Virginia, and I was like, listen, I'm loading a truck up with supplies. I'm going down there. I'm happy to report on the ground there once I get there, but I'm not going to be here for a week. Whether you pay me or not, like, I got to go. It was just like I felt called to go and do that. And Kylee, when I tell you, like, the devastation, just like homes completely decimated, gone, like off, just no trace of them whatsoever besides the debris. And it was just like, I had the chills thinking about it because I'm like, you truly never know when you live in a climate like in Florida where hurricanes hit. It is so destructive, and things can change in an instant, especially in the Gulf when the water is warm and the path of the storm can change so rapidly. So it is really scary. Keeping an eye on Bertha. It's expected to produce rains, heavy gusty winds, that coastal flooding. So we'll keep an eye on it, but you just think about those people down there because it's awful.
No, really it is. It made me see the pictures, but you've obviously lived it firsthand, having experienced a hurricane, and then obviously the big one, you weren't there, but then you came to the rescue and brought some supplies. It was hopefully your friends are, you know, they were able to rebuild. And
it's been a couple years now, but Fort Myers Beach, we lost like some just like amazing bars and restaurants that, you know, are locally owned. I still feel for those people like all these years later. Luckily, they've been able to rebuild and they've come such a long way. But like the causeway to get to Sanibel Island was completely ruined. There was no connection to get from the main land to the island. To the causeway. Like the causeway was just completely wiped out. So imagine if you live there, you can only access it by a helicopter or boat. Only options. Wow. Yeah, crazy stuff.
So see, I like it because you never know where the conversation leads us. And now we've learned obviously more about hurricanes and
it's
what
a reason
like
to be
there.
Grateful to be landlocked here.
That's
in Arizona.
true. Pros and cons
even
to
when
living
it's
here.
1:15. All right. So before we head to break, we have a question for the viewers and for you, Kylee. Do you like scary movies? No, me neither.
I don't. But maybe you do, and we'll hear from some of you.
Okay. We're gonna show you a crazy trailer coming up. All right, welcome back into the conversation. Before the break, we asked you to weigh in on whether or not you like scary movies. We don't like them, Kylie.
No, I know. I hate that I'm like a wimp because my husband's
terrible.
always like, it's Halloween time. And he's like, don't you want to watch a scary movie? I'm like, no. I don't want to watch a scary movie. But I've just never enjoyed them. I don't know. I don't like being scared.
Me either. Life is scary enough. Why are we going to scare ourselves on purpose?
No, I don't want to watch any scary movie. Like I've seen like some of the screams and like the scary movies, but these days, like I can't remember the last scary movie I watched. It was like had to have been like a decade plus ago.
I think I'm with you. We're going to talk about a scary movie trailer that's out right now. But before that, we want to talk about a pretty big box office boom when it comes to film in Phoenix. So we know a lot of movies are produced in Hollywood, of course. New Mexico is a place where a lot of these shows film. But according to the City of Phoenix Film Office, film production in the greater Phoenix area generated a whopping $28.4 million during the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
So that, I will say, I mean, that's great because it's like an 18% increase, but it's not as high as maybe you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, like Atlanta, I know is like a big hub for films and like a lot of films are being shot in Canada. But what's interesting when we were looking at the data is that a lot of this was commercials. And I will say we do have some like stunning backdrops for like a cool commercial, right? A stunning commercial. You do like the Red Rocks in Sedona, you know, go up north. I mean, you do the Valley, and apparently companies like Nike and Hyundai, they are the ones who accounted for some of like the big campaigns. So if you see a commercial and it looks like Arizona, maybe it is. Maybe it was filmed last year.
I know, it is crazy when you do these comparisons. And it makes you think about the commercial industry. And it's like there are so many options for employment there, whether you're a producer or a videographer or somebody who can help on set. So I wonder, and it makes me think if people who relocate to Arizona from LA and are in that kind of show business industry, it is a little bit more affordable to live here. And if there's work here, it might be a reason for them to kind of, we already know lots of people move from California 100%. To live here. Yeah.
And I feel like Arizona and obviously Phoenix in particular, yes, affordability is a thing. Like Dennis talked about, we're going to be hearing a lot about it. But it is still much more affordable to live here than California. So if you do work in one of those positions, and I mean, think of all the people. It's the audio person, it's the video person. Jobs. I mean, now the content creators. Right. So I know one of them, you know, it's like, I think it's commercials and then still photography, corporate filming, and then social media. That's even before TV and feature films. Right, so it's like if people are able to do that here, maybe move from LA.
Right, yeah. And, you know, a big headline, obviously, you can't talk about this without thinking about the AI of it all.
Oh, 100%.
And you wonder if, you know, AI will replace these jobs or if these jobs are going to be around for, I think it's just always something that lingers in the back of our minds. Like, is AI going to come and affect this industry as well? And we, you know, talked about that AI actress that they have, which is so dystopian to me.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I would hope that you never have AI delivering the news. Like you want people who live in the community, know the community, feel invested, are genuinely interested. But it will be like a year from now, how is AI going to change things? In 5 years from now, how is AI going to change things? Like, do they need to be on location and have all these people here and shoot things? Or can you just use AI to whip together a little commercial spot?
Crazy. Okay, well, you know who doesn't use AI?
Who?
Christopher Nolan.
No, he does not.
Does everything the old-fashioned way. I keep seeing so much promotion for the Odyssey. It is the first film shot entirely on IMAX. It has been getting pretty good reviews. Have you gotten to see it yet?
No, and I mean, I will say I have not seen a lot of movies these days. The Odyssey, eventually I'll get to it. I'm not sure when, but it's been a huge box office like boom this summer, and the numbers are better than, you know, before the pandemic. So remember for what, 2 years, like nobody went to the theaters, or a year?
Yeah.
And then you had like Top Gun and you had the Barbie and that kind of got things going. Yes, Oppenheimer. And now it's like, okay, this has been the best summer in years with all these movies making like buku bucks.
I agree. So the main ones we're talking about, of course, the Odyssey, then Toy Story 5, Devil Wears Prada 2, Project Hail Mary. I did see Devil Wears Prada 2 and Project Hail Mary. I liked them both. I have feelings about Project Hail Mary.
So Project Hail Mary.
It was Ryan Gosling.
Who we
Who we love.
We love, yeah. I mean, Taylor Swift doesn't seem to love him anymore, but that's another story. We could talk about that for a long time. So Project Hail Mary, what was like the best, worst part about it?
It was a beautiful story. It was moving. My very, very surface level analysis of the movie is it is, at its core, Ryan Gosling talking to a rock for 2.5 hours. So just do with that information what you will. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because I know so many people loved it. It is adapted from a book. And I've heard from several people who have read the book and loved the book. So maybe you read the book, watch the movie. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But I mean, Ryan Gosling, he is about the only person that I would watch do that.
Oh, you know what? I just realized I confused Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds together.
Oh, yes. Big difference. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I realized I was, blame it on, I can't say pregnancy brain, postpartum brain. But I was like, was he invited to Taylor Swift's wedding? It's Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and there's this feud. Ryan Gosling, Ken was in Project Hail Mary.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. So if you saw it, let me know your thoughts. Okay.
And Devil Wore Prada 2. I love the first one. And that's like the one movie I'm like, I want to get to. It's a little hard with a little newborn at home. But you liked the first one better?
I like the first one better. Yeah. I mean, same with Wicked. I like the first Wicked better than the second. I think just the OG, like, it's hard to compete with. I think they did a great job with Devil Wears Prada 2. I'm happy that I went. Again, would I watch it again? Probably not. But I think if you liked the original, you'll like the sequel.
And all the hype. I mean, they definitely built some hype.
The marketing is
And there's
crazy.
also some hype around another movie, horror movie,
Crazy.
making headlines. It's The Other Mommy. It apparently started playing to audiences who are watching the Odyssey. And for some people found it disturbing. We both watched the trailer of The Other Mommy. It stars Jessica Chastain, who is a really great actress. So her character like arrives home and her daughter's there and she like has a carton of ice cream. She's like trying to hide because I mean, what little kid doesn't want ice cream? And the mom's like, no, you can't have any. But then it kind of jumps and gets a little scary and spooky. And it's called like Other Mommy. And I didn't love the trailer.
No.
I was not like dying to watch it.
A lot of people are very up in arms about
Why don't
this
they like
on social media. Well, mostly because they went to go see the Odyssey this weekend. They were greeted with this trailer before the movie started. It was such a jump scare to them because if you watch the full trailer, it just takes a turn that you're not expecting. A lot of people are like, is this an ice cream commercial? Like you said,
it's like, oh, a sweet daughter. And
very
a mom.
happy, normal in the beginning, and then boom, all of a sudden. I don't want to give too much away in case you want to go watch it on your own time. But people were saying like they couldn't even enjoy the first few minutes of the Odyssey because they were so shooken up by this jump scare of a horror movie trailer.
I mean, I think those people are being a little dramatic.
Yeah, probably.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I agree. Like some scary movies to me are like, it feels like an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to go see it,
No.
but I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so scared.
Yeah. It was just it was one that like kind of makes you scratch your head. Lynn says no scary movies for me. More of a Hallmark movie girl.
My mom's also Hallmark movie girl, Lynn, and I think they still have like Christmas movies in July.
Oh, for sure.
I don't
Christmas
know.
in July movies.
100%.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, I'm watching Hallmark tonight. I'm like, it's July.
Yeah.
But apparently there's always Christmas movies.
My other favorite tweet about The Other Mommy was, who was the genius who decided to name it Other Mommy and not Other Mother? Which I was like, yeah, hello.
Oh.
Why didn't we go for that? Right?
Yeah.
Other Mother. That was like way better of a
Than
title than Other
Other Mommy.
Mommy. Yeah. Maybe it will be revealed in the movie.
Yes, maybe we'll see. And does it come out around Halloween?
I think in October. Yeah. So.
Usually a lot of the
Mark your
movies, it's like
calendars.
October is
Yeah.
when the movies come out.
Yeah.
Okay, my goal this year is to get to movie theater at least once.
Okay.
So
We're gonna
I
hold
don't
you
know
to it.
what that is going to be because Devil Wears Prada I don't think is
No.
even in theaters anymore.
Maybe the Odyssey.
But maybe the Odyssey. Maybe not. I want something where I can laugh.
I know.
I mean, sometimes,
The
I don't know.
lost art of the rom-com.
Yeah, that's why I do
Yeah.
love a good rom-com. But I want like a solid rom-com.
I
Like there used
know.
to be so many good ones. I just want to be able to laugh and escape and not like be like tense.
yeah,
and,
on
life
edge.
is busy
It
and
is.
I want something fun.
Okay,
and
listen up,
light.
Hollywood. Give us something fun and light, would
And,
you?
and produce it and put it together by the end of 2026.
Yeah, I love it. And do it in Phoenix.
Yeah,
Get that.
perfect. Get us some money too.
All right, before we head to break, do you love or hate the first day of school? We are diving in. Coming up next on The Conversation. All right, we're diving into back to school season. I cannot believe it always comes fast in Arizona.
So Arizona, I grew up in Yuma, and we were on like a year-round schedule, so we only had like 6 weeks. So we always went back to school in July. But you are from the East Coast.
Yes.
Did you always do the like late August or even after Labor Day?
After Labor Day. Always the day after Labor Day, that Tuesday, back to school. And that was just like general rule of thumb. So when I first moved here and I was like, wait, the kids go back in July? That's so early.
Yeah, so Chandler went back last week on Wednesday, and then you had 3 districts going back today: Kyrene, Tempe Elementary, and Tempe Union. And I think a lot of the East Valley schools, it seemed like they start earlier, which I guess is nice. So if you have like friends or cousins or, you know, kids at different schools, like at least they're kind of on the same schedule-ish. But yeah, I think it's too early. I kind of think it would be nice to like go into June a little bit, but then have like all of July off and maybe some of August off.
I can't imagine as an adult with kids. Obviously, you know, your girls are little still, so you still have some time. But like I think about, you know, April and Tess, and their kids are teens and they play sports and they're back in school. It's like, how do you plan like your family vacations when the kids are like gonna be back in school? It's hard. You kind of have like a smaller window to get everyone out of town.
I think Tess said, and maybe you, if you're listening or watching, she said she had like 8 days.
Okay.
That was all.
That's like such a small amount of time.
I mean, the sports.
Right.
Like if you're, I know all of our ladies, like all of their kids are really into sports and they have to stick to the schedule. So it's like maybe you get that week off for the 4th of July, but can you get it off here?
Right. I know, because
everybody wants a 4th of July week off.
First in line, so you better get behind
seniority.
Yeah.
But it's hard, and we were talking with Tess about this yesterday, is my daughter's starting preschool, and I got the calendar, and I'm like, oh, wait, so like, usually we could be like, let's take a little vacation in September. Let's go somewhere in November. But now it's like she's in school. Like, do I pull her out? And Tessa's like, you pull her out. She's in preschool. Like, you pull her out. But when they get older, it's really hard to pull out because you don't want them to miss, you know, oh, we have a test this day. We have a paper due. You can't like miss a bunch of school. And I'm a very big proponent of school. Like I was like the, you know, had to go to school, like was into perfect attendance. But yeah, it's that dilemma of, you know, pulling them out. And even in the summer, okay, well, can they miss a week of, you know, practice? But they're really into football and they want to make the varsity team. And so it's like that.
It's tricky.
But we also want to make family memories.
I know. And your mom is an educator.
Yes, retired after 41 years.
Wow.
So now she's going to be a full-time Grammy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, so growing up with your mom in education space, what was that like for you as a student? Do you think that's kind of helped your love for school and love for learning?
I think so, because this is so funny. So they're in the process of moving up here, which is great and super helpful. But in Yuma, where I'm from, we're kind of clearing out the childhood house. And when I was up there, this was before I had the baby, but I had like a Hello Kitty lesson planner, and I would pretend like I was a teacher and I would make lesson plans.
That's
and I
so
mean,
cute.
I had pages and pages of lesson plans. And growing up, I always had like a whiteboard and markers at home. I was like such a nerd. But yeah, I've always like loved school. That's why Scott's like, you should have been a teacher. And I'm like, well, don't you like working with me too? Thanks. He like says it as a compliment, but I'm like, is it kind of a dig? But that's why I've always like loved going to schools and being a part of it, because I grew up in the classroom. I mean, before school, we would be at school, after school, you know, I was always in front of like a whiteboard and markers. And that. Randy loves school too. Oh, especially taking my son in his new clothes, new shoes, looking very sharp. Plus, my food bill at home will be cheaper. Oh yeah, it gets expensive.
True. Yeah, and those lunches, you gotta lean on them
all the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so true.
Do you have like a favorite grade of school?
Well, I was a good student up until
be honest.
Up until 8th grade, things got a little dicey for your girl. That was the first year the teachers called home about little old Simone, and we think something's wrong with her. She won't stop talking and won't pay attention. My mom's like, okay, well, what do you suggest that we do? And they're like, we think you should test her for ADHD. So as a little 8th grader, got to do that whole experience. They lock you. I don't know what they do nowadays, but back then they basically put you in a room and gave you an IQ test.
Oh, wow.
And kind of like monitored you, and it was like very long. And I don't have ADHD diagnosed, but they realized that like the classes that I were in were not like challenging me, so that's why I wasn't paying attention. Apparently, I don't really think that. I just think I didn't have interest in what I was learning. But I got kicked out of class a lot. They put my desk in the hallway. I was bad. I was a good student up until like middle school, high school, and then I was just like, you guys.
You're like, okay,
I know.
this is me.
But
look it, now you get to talk for a living.
It always makes
always
me laugh
works
because
out.
they were like, you have got to stop talking. You've got to stop talking. And now I'm just encouraged to talk at my job. So
Especially on the conversation.
I get
where
paid to talk.
We can just talk and talk and talk. This is what's nice because usually on TV, we have these little earpieces and they're telling us to rap and kind of like to be a little snappy because people are like having breakfast and they got to get out and, go about their day, drop the kids off at school. So we want to be like short and sweet.
Yes.
Here we can just talk and talk.
And
As long as
talk,
we have like water and can get a water break, we could be here all day.
Exactly. Well, regardless of how you feel about school, we're wishing everyone a happy back to school season. We know it's a little bittersweet for the parents and the kiddos out there. But talking about kids in France, this was a big headline today that I'm so interested for your take on because lawmakers there have voted to ban social media for kids under the age of 15. They're the first country in the EU to introduce an age limit like this. Australia made history late last year. They did the first ban on social media for kids under 16, and now England is kind of expected to follow suit, which makes me wonder if something like this could ever come to the USA.
I mean, you wonder.
Right.
I don't know. It's just social media is like so dominant in our lives, and I will say when you like put your phone down, it's so nice to just be like, it feels like calming to just like put. And sometimes I put my phone like I hide it. Like I don't even want it in sight because one, I have a toddler who's like phone,
Right.
but I just like don't even want to look at it because sometimes just seeing it gives me like anxiety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get
and
it.
so I honestly think it's a good thing. I don't think that a 13-year-old needs a TikTok and an Instagram and all those things. I don't. That's my opinion. Everybody obviously thinks differently, but just let kids be kids.
Right.
I just feel like kids don't have the chance to just like be bored. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like over summers, like we were bored. It'd be like find something to do.
Literally.
Be creative. And now it's like, oh, I've got my phone, I've got my iPad, I've got the TV. It's like they're just the screens are taking up so much of their time now, and we don't let kids just like sit with their thoughts and feelings and like build something and just have fun.
It's so true.
So I would be okay with that. Like I would like to as a parent be, you're not going to have social media till 16.
Right.
I mean, I don't have a number yet.
Right.
My kids are little. But I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Our generation, we're kind of in that interesting position where we grew up without the technology. Like we have those memories of playing outside and being a kid, like you said. But then, I remember for me, it was like right around 7th grade, got like, a standard basic flip phone. And that was like a huge deal. And nowadays, like kids are like 6, 7, 8 years old and they have a phone. And
$1,000 phone.
It's crazy. An iPhone. Yeah, smartphone, not a flip phone. So it's just so different nowadays.
And I get it. Like, your kid has practice, right? So you have to be able to communicate with them, or, maybe mom and dad aren't together, or whatever the situation may be. But yeah, like, can you just have a flip phone? So you can be able to contact parents in a need-be basis.
Right.
But do we have to have this phone?
Yeah.
Or we're just scrolling and our kids, I don't know. I'm very much there. It's been kind of like a little bit of momentum to get like the old school landlines back.
I know.
So some of my friends have done that with their kids. And like, I don't know. Part of me, like I remember my dad would be like, oh, Shannon's calling you. And you'd go and everybody would hear the conversation, and I kind of miss those days.
Or it was like if you wanted to see your friend, you had to like go. I had to like run down the street in the neighborhood and go knock on her door and be like, "Can she come out and play?" Like
communicate.
Just like face-to-face interaction. So, yeah, we'll keep our eyes on it, but definitely something to think about, especially if you're a parent out there. Okay, after the break, we are talking about a really unfortunate situation over at ESPN. So a question for the viewers, have you ever gone through a layoff? Because that's unfortunately what this is about. And do you watch ESPN? Where do you get your sports news? We're breaking it down after this.
somebody else.
Welcome back in. We are keeping an eye on this story today. Obviously, it's no secret, Kylee. Media is changing so rapidly. Obviously, you see us here delivering the news on couches in a conversational way. And we've been seeing a lot of these huge media corporations kind of making changes as they see fit. And one of the unfortunate realities of that is a lot of people get laid off. And that is what we're talking about today, as ESPN has started a round of layoffs. This is tied to the acquisition to the NFL Network. A memo was leaked earlier this week, and most of the layoffs are affecting production personnel, but some on-air talent were affected, which I think is the big story here because these are like the big names that most people know. So former NFL quarterback Cam Newton, veteran MLB announcer Carl Ravik, and longtime NFL analyst Tom Pelissero, just to name a few. And then former NFL safety Ryan Clark learned that he was getting laid off midway through his appearance on NFL Live and did not finish the show. Could you imagine?
No. Like if
I
we
can't
were
imagine.
doing this show and that would be...
It's awful.
It's awful. And obviously the behind the scenes people, I feel bad for anybody who's laid off. Anybody, because it's really hard and people have families and whatnot. The on-air talent, obviously, Ryan Clark is probably being paid more than
of course.
people behind the scenes, right? And so while it really is unfortunate, you're like, okay, you probably have like
you're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay is what I'm trying to say. But to do it while somebody is in a broadcast, like that just seems so... And like there's never a good time to get that news. No, it's never ever a good time.
But especially when you're live on air and then you just don't even finish your newscast.
Like how gut-wrenching would that be if somebody like came in and was like, hey, we got to talk to you.
Yeah, and I
hope
like
nobody's lurking as I'm like looking over.
Could you imagine
my
walk out
paranoid
here
self? I'm like, is anybody at the door? I don't see anybody. Okay, we're good.
I know.
But I mean, layoffs are really, really hard. And I really feel for the people who don't make as much as the big name headlines. Like Cam Newton,
he's going to be fine.
He's going to be fine. Yeah. But it's still, and I'm sure, for all of them, it's hard. It bruises your ego too.
100%.
And it's hard, but you just, when you've got a family to feed and things are tight and you get laid off, that is the devastating part. That's
can't
really
imagine.
Hard.
And let us know if you're comfortable weighing in, if you've been through something like this, because unfortunately in today's day and age, I just feel like it is so common and we're reporting about it more often than not, whether it's media, whether it's we've been talking a lot about some of these electric car manufacturers that have gone through rounds of layoffs, and we always have a lot of people weighing in like, I worked at that factory and I saw it firsthand. And it's just awful no matter who you are. Another big part of this that has a lot of people talking is that Pat McAfee is rumored now to be getting a contract extension that's worth $60 million per year.
At first when I saw that, I was like, 60 million, is it over 5 years? No, a year. I mean, he has become like all over. He has such a huge following, especially with younger men. Now, some people criticize him because he's very brash and they say he has some controversial takes, depending. Some people love him, some people hate him. But I don't know. I mean, I'm like, share the wealth, right? If he's making 60, can you knock it down like 20, 30 million? So he's still making 20, 30, 40 million, but you spread that wealth over all the people who like help his show to run and the people that they had to lay off. I don't know. I don't like that.
Totally. And it's like, I don't really have an opinion of him either way. I just see that and I'm like, 60, who needs 60 million a year? Sure, if you gave it to me, I'm sure I'd figure out a way to spend it. But like when you think about it logistically, from ESPN's point of view, it must be worth it to them.
Must be making some money.
He must be bringing in the eyeballs. And it really brings back that conversation of how people who are digitally native as content creators or influencers are now transitioning into this traditional TV space because they've got the audience and the eyeballs behind them. And it really makes me wonder just about the future of our industry, sports media, entertainment media in general, because it is just so different from the day and age, the heyday of TV news when we grew up in the 90s and 2000s.
I mean, even just over the last year or two, I feel like things have changed.
Yeah.
Even like since I got back from maternity leave, like we have the conversation now.
Your streaming show.
Like even in 3-4 months, it's changed. So you do wonder what it's going to happen. But yeah, it's hard for anybody to lose their job. But it's especially hard when you're like, oh, this person makes X amount. Can I just have like a little bit of
bit of
that?
that,
And
yeah.
we can just like spread the wealth.
Right.
I mean, it's like that in a lot of,
Yeah.
jobs. You're like, wait, that person makes
At
that
the top,
much?
yeah.
Like, just
I know.
give all the little people a little bit of
know.
money.
I agree. Yeah. And, obviously affordability and income, it's something that we'll continue to cover because we know it is top of mind for a lot of people right now. Kylie, we're out of time for today.
Thanks.
How did you feel doing this?
This was fun.
You did so great.
So thanks for everybody watching and listening.
Aw.
Hopefully I was an okay guest
You were a
host.
pleasure.
I have some water and, talking for an hour.
I know. You got like
a
dry
little,
mouth, right?
a little tiring, at least in the mouth. But yeah, it was fun and you made it super easy.
the
So
best.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Kylie. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.